So, what if I told you that everything you think you know about work, about money, even about reality itself is about to get completely flipped on its head? I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you're not just building a business for today, right? You're building for the future. And today, we are going to unpack Elon Musk's blueprint for that future. And let me tell you, it's a reality so radical, it's going to challenge everything you thought was even possible.
Yeah, you heard that right. In less than 20 years, working will be optional. I mean, that's the core prediction right there. It's a statement so bold, it almost sounds crazy, doesn't it? Work being optional? Just a hobby? How would society even function? Well, to get our heads around that far-out vision, we've actually got to start with Musk's philosophy for right now. And it all begins with how we talk to each other.
Right. So before we can even get to the AI and the robots and all that cool stuff, we have to start with X. You know, what used to be Twitter. See, Musk believes that if we're ever going to solve humanity's biggest challenges, we first need one single place where we can all talk, a kind of global town square.
So this is basically Musk's diagnosis of the problem he thought he needed to fix. In his view, the old Twitter wasn't really a neutral space. He saw it as amplifying a very specific, San Francisco-based worldview he calls far left. And he claims that led to things like suspending right-wing voices. So his stated goal with X is to pull it back to the middle, create a balanced, centrist platform that just follows local laws without picking sides. But here's the key. This isn't just about making a neutral social media app. For him, this is the foundation for something way, way bigger.
You see, for Musk, a global town square isn't really the end goal. It's about creating what he calls a collective consciousness. It's a pretty cool idea. He sees all of humanity kind of like a single person, made up of trillions of cells. So by connecting all of our thoughts and translating them in real time across every language, we basically upgrade our collective mind. We expand the scope and the scale of human thought itself. And of course, a more powerful collective mind, well, it can start asking much bigger questions and solving much bigger problems. Okay, so let's say we do that. We connect all of humanity into this global consciousness. What then? What do you do with that power? Well, according to Musk, you use it to get ready for the next massive disruption, the coming revolution in AI and robotics.
And this, right here, this is the question for the next decade. Because, as Musk points out, AI and robotics, they're not just advancing. They're advancing at this insane rate. He actually calls it a supersonic tsunami. So you have to ask yourself, what happens when machines can do pretty much everything a human can do, but they can do it better and they can do it cheaper? And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction future we're talking about. Musk has a surprisingly short timeline for all this. He's thinking that in just 10 years, we're going to start seeing major shifts in society. Then, within 15 years, AI and robotics will totally dominate production. And from there, in less than 20 years total, we hit that final destination, a world where you just don't have to work anymore.
Just let that sink in for a second. Less than 20 years. He uses this great analogy. It's like growing your own vegetables. You can do it, sure, if it's something you enjoy, but you don't have to because the grocery store is right there. That's what work becomes. It's a hobby. It's an option. So this leads to the really big question, right? If nobody has to work, what in the world happens to our entire economic system?
All right, and this is where the whole vision goes from radical to something else entirely. Because an economy where work is optional, that leads to a world without scarcity. In a world without scarcity, well, that completely blows up our whole idea of what money even is. I mean, really think about it. Musk's definition of money is pretty simple. He just calls it an information system for labor allocation. It's just a tool we invented to get other people to do stuff. Build a house, grow some food, drive a truck. But in a future of total abundance, where AI and robots can make any good or provide any service you can possibly dream of, why would you still need a system designed to manage human labor? And this sets off a kind of logical chain reaction. It goes like this. First, you get hyperabundance, thanks to AI. That makes human labor for production pretty much obsolete. Once labor is obsolete, the tool we use for it, money, loses all of its meaning. And at that point, Musk argues, we have no choice but to look for a more fundamental way to measure value. Something that isn't based on human agreements, but on the laws of the universe itself. And that's what he thinks it is, energy. For Musk, the true currency is pure energy. Think about it. You can't print more energy. You can't pass a law that creates it out of thin air. It's governed by the laws of physics. He even suggests that the progress of any civilization can be measured by one thing, how much energy it can harness and put to good use.
So in a world where everything else is abundant, energy becomes the ultimate measure of value.
Okay, so let's just step into this future for a second. We've got a global mind connecting all of us. We have an economy based on energy, not money, where there's no scarcity. Robots are doing all the work, your survival is basically guaranteed, and the whole concept of being rich is meaningless. What do? Well, this frees humanity up to finally focus on what Musk believes is our real purpose, answering the biggest questions there are.
And this really is the final piece of the puzzle. According to Musk, the whole point of expanding our consciousness, the whole reason we're doing all of this, is to better understand the universe. And what's the biggest, most fundamental question you can ask about the universe? It's pretty simple. Is any of this even real?
Now, Musk has a pretty compelling argument for this, and it all starts with something we all get: video games. Just think, in about 50 years, we went from Pong, literally 2 rectangles and a dot, to these insanely photorealistic worlds with millions of players online. So he says, just follow that trend line. Eventually, games are going to be completely indistinguishable from reality. Now, if civilization keeps going, we're not going to make just one of those simulations, we're going to make billions of them. So here's the kicker. What are the odds that we, you and me, right now, are in the one single original base reality and not one of those billions of simulations? The odds, he argues, are overwhelmingly high that we're in a simulation.
And that brings us to the final, really provocative thought. If we are living in a simulation, what does that mean? Well, Musk's theory is that the simulations that get to keep running are probably the most interesting ones. The boring ones, they just get shut down. So that means the most interesting outcome is always the most likely. And what that suggests is that our reality, our actual lives, might just be part of a story that's designed to be, well, interesting. And that leaves all of us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on. What role are you supposed to be playing in that story?